is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV right here. As you can see, right there. As you can see, you see it. I just wanted to say welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much if you're watching live. Thank you so much if you're watching on the replay. Just to come over here and to share an hour of this time, of your time, my time, to be a part of a community of people that want to take that next step to better their life, and just to be a part of a community of people that actually care and want to show some positivity in the world, and to go against the grain and actually take charge of their life. So I wanted to thank you for that first and foremost. Today we have Brett Scott, and when I tell you guys, you better, I'm telling you, you guys better grab your notebook and pens. If you guys haven't done it already through the countless episodes that we've had so far, you better do it today, because Brett is going to drop some serious gold. I'm not even going to say gold nuggets. He's going to drop some gold mines today. So I just want to say, Brett, thank you in advance. I see you right there nodding your head. Oh, he's ready to come on. I just want to say, seriously, Brett, thank you so much for taking this hour of your time. I'm looking really bright today. I don't know why. But I just want to say thank you so much for sharing this hour of your time and years of experience and knowledge. And guys, seriously, Brett charges people for this type of knowledge. So you guys better seriously take your notes, have your eyes glued to the screen, and listen to everything that he's going to say today. Only because the stuff that he's about to drop for you today, and the stuff that he even dropped for me just a few minutes before we went live, is absolutely incredible. And I'm just so excited and grateful to have you on. Also, Virginia, shout out to Virginia as well. She's the one who actually linked us two together. I was actually on her podcast recently, La Dolce Vita podcast, and I want to say thank you so much for that opportunity again. So go check that out whenever you guys have a second to go do that as well. As you guys already know, I always have to start out with this book, and I really do love this book, guys. Life's Little Instruction Books, 511 Suggestions, Observations, and Reminders to How to Live a Happy and Rewarding Life. The story behind this book is absolutely amazing. I was just on Bathrobe Moments earlier, and I explained the story behind this book, and that was a great show as well with Lauren Michaels Harris. So thank you again for the opportunity to be on that show. So I'll get into that in 1 second. So speaking of that, I was on the show. I want to show you guys something that there was a question that really. All right, we're all good. Sorry for the little delay. There was a question on there that was really important. And I'm not sure, I didn't cover it at all. And this is a very great question, because this is something that I went through in my own life experience. And I want to share my information and my life experiences with you guys as well. So here's the question. It was from Sherry McQueen. And every time that I'm anywhere on social media, she's always there. She's like a great supporter. So this is her question that I didn't really answer earlier. So if you guys can tag Sherry, that would be so amazing, just so she can be able to see this information. So the question is, Daniel C, 9:42 a.m. I was up early today. Your career has been at warp speed. Has this changed you personally in any way? And this question, I really do love this question, only because I've never been asked this before, and this is a really great question. So there's two pieces of information that I want you guys to really understand that I've gone through, and it's really been a short amount of time, only about 6 or 7 months, and I already got the position that I wanted with associate producer for the E14 television network, and to be able to, have my television show for you guys, to help you guys with whatever you may be going through. So there's two pieces of information. First and foremost, you cannot do it alone. And this is very crucial and very eye-opening, because there's so many reasons why. First and foremost, I'm going to say it again. Brett's going to laugh because I just told him this in the earlier, a few minutes ago. You don't know what you don't know. And in order for you to acquire information that you don't know, you need to grab it through a book, maybe a podcast, or another person that you may be working with. And that is the importance of teamwork. Other people are able to introduce you to expand your network to people that you may not have known before. Exactly my point with Brett coming on today. And another big reason why you can't do it alone is the burnout when it comes to creating these new ideas and listening and really being aware of what the universe is trying to tell you. That is not an easy journey. So when you have a life coach, I would super super seriously recommend a life coach, somebody that is in the position that you want to be in order so they can lay out the blueprint, or just to let you know, to avoid mistakes that they went through, that if they had a mentor, they wish that they wouldn't have gone through, because it makes the journey that much smoother. And you know how to react and respond when life throws you these obstacles. And another thing is, the second piece of information that I've learned that's changed me personally is being of service. I used to, when we're all like, young adults, teens, it's all about me, me, me. What can you do for me? And I had to learn, not really the hard way, because I was always of service, but I just didn't know that was the phrase for it. Zig Ziglar said it best, and this goes back to the show earlier today. I don't know the exact quote verbatim, but it goes something along the lines like, the easiest way for you to get what you want is to give everybody else what they want. And I really absolutely love that quote. That's one of the quotes that's changed my life. When you pour into other people the way that you want to be poured, that's how the universe, a higher power, whatever you want to believe in, that's how they're going to treat you as well. So if you're really only giving out, a little bit at a time, you're only going to receive a little bit at a time. The more that you give is the more that you receive, and the more that you receive, the more that you can give. So it's really a big circle, and those are the two things. And I don't want to talk too much. I know I'm taking up a lot of time already, because Brett's time is very, very valuable, and he's going to drop some gold nuggets on you guys. So I'm just super excited to have you today, Brett. Thank you so much in advance. And Brett, what are you doing, Brett? You got to drop the book. It's time to get on the show. Brett, how's it going, man?
G'day from Australia. Hope everything is well in your world. And yes, we did get on a call. We did get on have a little bit of a chat before the actual show. I was going to say the call before the show. But yeah, super excited to be here. I'm really grateful that Virginia introduced us. We spent we were going to get on a call for 15 minutes. Ended up being an hour and a half. So. And I won't apologize for it. Hey, Jeanette, I won't apologize for it because, as you know, I love this information. So yes, what I'm about to share, if you've got one of these, get out a notepad. Yep. Actually, what I want to make a comment for you, Dan, which is, I was actually very impressed that you asked me a question. Because it's very easy for us as hosts, as let's call us at times an expert, to think, oh, I don't want to seem like I don't know it all. I don't know enough. I don't want them to think that, I don't know what I'm doing. And that is the wrong it's the wrong attitude. And you don't have it, which is awesome, because the right attitude is going into everything as if you're a beginner. Like if you treat life like you are an amateur, and I don't mean it in a way where you're not good enough. I mean it in a way where you're open. Like a beginner has an open mind. An expert usually has a closed mind. Usually is like, don't tell me this information. I already know it, or I've already heard it before. I used to say that. I used to go to workshops and I would hear the same thing said again and go, oh, yeah, I know that. You mentioned before about, what can I get? Right. And I used to be the same, what can I get? And I was very, very selfish. The me of the past, which wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, the me of the past certainly was of that mindset, how am I going to be happy today? And in fact, it was always I was going to say a small window. It's not the right word. It was, most people who are doing really well in the world have a mindset where they're thinking about things in years to come. They're not thinking about what can I, there's another word for it, instant gratification, right? Everything I did was all about instant gratification. How can I get something that makes me happy right now? I used to have a shopping addiction, like pretty unusual for a guy. I would be the best. I could outshop anyone. And what I mean by that is I could spend hours and hours in a shop. I could not even buy anything, but most of the time I would buy something. Most of the time I would spend my money before I received it. And, and so I didn't have that. I had the knowledge, but I wasn't actually following through with knowledge. You know, logically, I knew what to do, and I would always do something illogical. Not always, but a lot of the time, especially when it was crucial for me going to the next level. So, Dan, what I'd love to share, and I might frame this for everyone, is it doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter where you are right now. And often where I think some people become unstuck is they're thinking, how do I become that person that I'd love to become? That seems it's so far away. How do I get there? And what do I need to change in myself? And usually they're thinking, what do I need to change externally? You know, I even did it recently. I'm going to say I made a mistake thinking that I went through and I'm still going through it, I should say. I was going to say I went through an upgrade. I'm going through an upgrade at the moment in the way that I operate in my business. And I was thinking, what do I have to do different? How do I show up differently? No, you don't have to change anything externally. I had to change something internally, which is exactly what I did. And guess what happens? You know, you and I were sort of talking about the law of attraction, sort of talking about how do I manifest something into my world that isn't already here. Mm-hmm. And the key to it is not by doing more. The key to it is not by doing something external to yourself. The key to it is about doing something internal for yourself. Mm-hmm. And really getting intentional, really getting clear, being specific. When you're specific and clear, whether you believe in God or the universe, what you're going to find is that, and I'm just going to use God for this example, God will hear what you're saying. And no, let me rephrase this. God will feel what you're saying, right? God feels what we're saying through our emotions, through our heart. You know, the heart actually, you know, I only found this out not long ago. Did you know the heart has a brain? The heart has a brain.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
The heart has a brain. It's incredible. So, you know, we can think, you know, rather than just thinking with the brain in our head, which isn't our mind. It's another part of a conversation I'm not going to dig into. I don't want to confuse anyone. I want to stay on track. So when you decide that I actually want to become this person, I actually want to receive this into my world, you got to make a decision about what inside of me needs to grow. And am I being really clear? Am I being really clear about what I want? And this is another important part, and I didn't actually mention this to you as well, Dan, probably because I don't think you are blocked. A lot of us aren't able to manifest money or aren't able to manifest the reality or manifest the relationship that we want because of our blockages. And you might be hearing blockages and thinking, are you talking about going to the toilet? No. What I'm talking about is blockages from unforgiveness, blockages from trauma, blockages from things that have happened in your life that you haven't yet resolved with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I'm being really clear in saying resolved with yourself, because what happens to a lot of us is we think, well, I don't want to communicate with that person, or I wish that had never happened to me. And it's nothing external. It's not about having a discussion or remaining in a relationship with that person. It's about having a discussion with yourself, bringing to your awareness, because sometimes, especially with trauma, and you probably know this, Dan, especially with trauma, what happens is we push it down. Mm-hmm. And it goes into what we call our unconscious part of our mind, which is in our subconscious, which is the automatic part of our mind. So what I want people to understand, right, is doesn't matter, and believe you me, I've made this mistake. I made this particular thing I'm about to share, so definitely make sure you got your pen. I made this mistake time and time again for 43 years specifically, until I had a proper breakthrough, and I'll give you a bit of a snapshot of the journey as well. And that mistake was, I would think, I'll just use this as an example. I would think, okay, I actually want to have, $100,000. I want $100,000. Mm-hmm. This wasn't part of it, but I'm just using this as an example. Yeah, I want $100,000, right? And
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big part, a huge number I feel like that everybody wants to achieve in their life. And before you continue that, I just want to touch on one thing.
Yeah.
Why I envision your blockages is I think about myself in a waterfall. So everything is very free flowing. The waterfall starts from the top of the mind and it goes all the way down to the feet. And when you have those blockages, the water's not touching that certain part or that chakra that you're going into. But continue your story. That's how I like to visualize it.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it. Yeah, and we we could dig into chakras, yeah, but we won't, because I'm just in my mind I'm thinking, okay, there's actually 13. There used to be 13 or 14 chakras, but that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, okay, yeah, but blockages, right? Just be really mindful that sometimes you're going to have to bring those to the surface and then make a decision with yourself. Am I going to allow that to continue being a part of my internal? Sometimes not even a conscious discussion, but there's always an internal thing happening for you. And this is what I'm about to explain with our subconscious mind, with our paradigm. And I'll explain what a paradigm means. But I'm glad you pulled me up on this particular blockage part, because it is a part that whenever I coach people, it's kind of the first thing I start with, rather than locking into the goal, which is a really important thing. Like, what do we actually want to achieve? What are we going after? But it's, what are the things that are potentially holding you back? And sometimes we're not even aware of them. I wasn't aware of them. Mm-hmm. You got to bring them to the surface, and then you make a decision. Am I going to have that stick with me and continue to be here? Or am I going to make a decision, because we live in a world of duality, which dictates that we only have two options, because there's a universal law of polarity, which actually dictates that everything has an exact and equal opposite, which I think is absolutely awesome. In this 3D physical world, at least, when we won't talk about the quantum realm or other realms, but in this 3D physical world that we all live in, and whether you believe you're alive or not, that's another story. Mm-hmm. What happens is we only have two choices, which I think is great. It's not confusing. I'm either going to focus on the thing that's been holding me, or I'm going to focus on what's the opposite of that. Well, the opposite of that is X. I'm going to focus on X. And so the power of attention, the power of focus is incredible, because what you put your energy and attention and focus on is what you actually attract into your life. So the law of attraction, it works purely on what you're actually focused on. And what I mean by that is, and tell me if you've done this, Dan, I do not want to deal with this person anymore. I'm sick and tired of this person. This person does nothing but whinge and whine, and I just can't handle hanging around. Why does this person keep hanging around with me? Like, I just wish they would I'm trying not to swear. Yeah. I wish this person would get lost, right? Yeah. And what are we doing? Or what am I doing? I'm focusing on what I don't want. Mm-hmm. And guess what the law of attraction is doing? It's bringing more of that to me. Yeah. Why is that person sticking around? Because I'm focusing on that. Yeah. It's very, very simple. This is the interesting part about mindset, which I know you love, Dan, which is why we're on a call for an hour and a half.
Oh, wait. Because the hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, you and I, not now. You and I before we're on a call for an hour and a half, because this stuff is so freaking important. But it's so simple. These things are so simple, but we make them hard. And why do we make them hard? Because we have these, as I mentioned before, these paradigms that are operating. And a paradigm, for anyone who's thinking, what the hell is a paradigm? It is a multitude of habits that we build up in our subconscious part of our mind, which the simplest way of looking at it is a multitude of beliefs. Yeah. Belief and believing. Belief is the most important part of you being able to achieve anything in your life. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, if you say to yourself, and this is a really important quote that I didn't really get until recently, which is, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. Mm-hmm. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. And I remember thinking, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? And so you don't have to think about it for 18 months like I did, I'm going to help you. What it means is, it doesn't matter how much you want something. I want lots of money. Okay, great. Are you the person that's ready to receive lots of money? And so what that means is, you have to be in that state of belief. Right. And it's like when I talked about going through this upgrade process in my business, it's nothing to do with anything external to me. It's everything to do with inside of me. Do I believe that I'm ready for a 50, $70, $100, $120,000 client, you know, and it's almost like a temperature gauge. In fact, my first main mentor, who I followed for 13 years without getting results because I wasn't applying anything, I was hearing all this amazing information. And this is exactly what this is for you today, perhaps. You'll be hearing me. Yes, Jeanette said, you have two choices: focus on what has been holding you, or focus on X. Put energy into what you attract. It's simple, but we make them hard. I love it. See,
Brett, there's just so much going on here. And for somebody, like, we know what we're talking about. And this is absolutely amazing because I'm following you step by step, what everything you're saying. But for somebody that may not really understand, and let's say they're just getting into this, let's talk about belief, right? There's also that opposite factor, like you said, with resistance. So how can you really start to believe if you still have that little bit of resistance? Do you have any like concrete techniques in order to eliminate that resistance that you have in there when it comes to believing?
Yeah, I love that you brought up resistance. Resistance. You know, most of us, when we hit resistance, what do? We walk away.
Yeah.
We run away. Yeah, but maybe we run away versus walk away. We run away. You're right. We hit resistance and we think, oh, it's too hard. I'm not comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Now, resistance is awesome. Resistance is your friend. Think about a plane, right? When a plane takes off, what is it doing? It's hitting resistance. And does it take off straight away? No, it has to hit a certain speed to start to lift up and take off. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly the same with you and your thoughts, right? So resistance, when you hit resistance, don't resist resistance. Might sound like might sound like, is that an oxymoron? I don't know. Might sound like I'm telling you something which sounds stupid, but it's actually very true. Resistance is your friend. You're going to hit resistance when you're going after something that you have never had before, or that you haven't had for a long time, or that you truly want. You're going to hit resistance, and that resistance for you with your thoughts is your belief. Mm-hmm. And your belief is going to be holding you back, because if you think about your beliefs as, and I'll use the plane analogy again, think about your belief as an automatic pilot in a plane, right? Your automatic pilot is set. It's a program, right? It's a computer program, the automatic pilot, and it's set. And so it knows at what altitude, it knows. That's the belief. So what we're doing is we're fighting the existing belief. We're hitting resistance, and the belief's saying, hang on, come back. It's trying to pull you back down. Mm-hmm. And so what you got to do, I'm not saying you fight resistance, but you go with it, and you go with it. You push into the resistance, and what you're going to find at a certain point, you're going to start to lift off. Yeah. You're going to start to take off. And what happens with that belief is that belief now moves to here. And it sets itself at a new point, and then you're going to have to maybe again you're going to have to reset it. So you're going to hit resistance all the time, and the important part of resistance is not to resist it, right? And I don't know if anyone listens to Abraham Hicks. If you haven't heard of Abraham Hicks, I resisted listening to Abraham Hicks for quite some time because I thought, oh, here's someone channeling. Some channelers I've heard, I don't really feel. My belief, I didn't really feel like I don't know if they're really connected to source, spirit, to God. And this particular person, who is Esther Hicks, channels Abraham. And Abraham is not a physical, and it's not just one person. It's actually a multitude. It's a group of non-physical. Mm-hmm. Sherry's saying grow from resistance. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Brett, I'm sorry. I don't mean to take you off for your thought. You have a thought. Keep going. I mean, you can really dive into this stuff for hours and days and years at a time, just trying to find it. And as you said, Bob Proctor, and I'm going to bring him up as well. You said that he studies the book Think and Grow Rich. He's still been doing it ever since he first picked up the book. Exactly. So, Brett, I want you to give us a concrete step. Let's say somebody's watching this right now and they're in their deepest, darkest moment in time, whether they're going through depression or they lost somebody of significant importance, whatever the case may be. What is something that they can do right now after they get done this call, watching this show with me and you? What is something that they can go do immediately? in order to turn their life in the positive direction?
So the first thing I would suggest to anyone is with their pen and paper to actually, it's almost like make an assessment with where you're at. And first of all, like, am I where I want to be? Am I doing the things that I want to do? Am I hanging around with the people that I want to hang around with? Am I working in the place that I want to work? You know, whatever it is for you, make an assessment of all the things, positive and negative. So even put a line down the middle of your sheet of paper. What are the positive things that are happening in my life that I'm really happy that are here? Gratitude, we talked about that. And then the other part on the negative, or on the things that you are not happy with, well, remember, just as I said before, we live in a world of duality. So you've got an option. You don't have to just, well, that's just the way life is. And in fact, that's exactly what I used to say to people. Oh, you don't understand, Dan. This is just the way life's always been. This is my personality. This is just how I am. You just have, like, I can't change that. That's how they, you know, and so we have this belief, and a lot of us are brought up, like we're brought up, the news, we're brought up with all these different outside influences, and some of them our family and some of them our parents. Thanks, Jeanette. Where we're essentially programmed to think that we can't change things in our life. And this stuff that we're talking about, yes, I could talk on hours about it, and it should be taught in schools, right? It should be taught in schools, but it's not. And the reason why it's not is because then, you know, the 2%, 1%, whatever you want to call them, that are, you know, running the world, they wouldn't be able to make their money. If everyone's living on purpose and everyone's able to manifest whatever they want in their life, well, then there's no control.
Yeah, 100%. You know?
So,
and there's one thing that I really want to expand on what you just said. The sad part, and I'm going to say it for what it is, I'm going to tell you straight up. The sad part is that this universe and this world and God has more than enough for everybody to be able to live at that capacity and to live at that standard. And just the fact that, you know, it ultimately comes down to greed. It is very, very sad. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I really do firmly believe that everybody does have the capability to live at that highest level of living. But if I'm going to look at the reality portion of it, there's just so many people that are so deeply ingrained in what, like, and what they are and who they are and what they believe in, that they're just not going to want to change when it comes to being stubborn. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, we're at the halfway point of the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. And when we come back, Brett, I want you to really explain. You can still hear me, right? All right, cool. Sorry, the camera lagged a little bit. I want you to explain how that book, if you can show it on the screen again, if you don't mind, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I want you to explain how that book has single-handedly changed your life after we hear a word from our sponsors. So don't go anywhere. Stay right here, and Brett is going to answer that question, and do not go anywhere.
That
So welcome back, everybody. My camera is starting to act up a little bit. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it's because I turned off that light. I thought it was too bright. But anyway, that's all good. Nobody cares about that anyway. So Brett, you have to explain to everybody what the significance of that book is and how it impacted your life.
So I just want to clarify, it didn't single-handedly change my life, but it definitely is a bit of a Bible for me. And what I mean by that is I remember when I finally, in November of 2018, I finally had a proper breakthrough. And I'm just going to quickly go back just 1 second to give people context. In August of 2014, I had a big financial upheaval. In fact, it was the biggest breakdown of my life. In fact, it was a certain amount of money that I owed to the company that I was working for, which meant that that I knew my marriage was going to end. So it was like a straw that broke the camel's back. And we were pregnant. My wife and I were pregnant at the time. We were together for 12 years. And I remember thinking my life was over. And I got an idea. And very quickly, I snapped out of it and I made a decision that I had to take ownership, had to take responsibility. And moving forward, 4 years later, a lot of relationships, a lot of things were healed. The one thing that wasn't healed, though, was me. And in November of 2018, watching one of Bob Proctor's programs called The Paradigm Shift, I should say listening to, because I was driving my car, I had this revelation, and the revelation was that I was going to be successful as well. And what that meant is whenever if you've ever heard of an emotional impact, what that means is something usually negative, this time it was positive, but usually negative, that happens to you and you've got a positive thought running through your mind. What happens is it gets hit into your subconscious, or it gets placed, maybe not hit's the right word, gets placed into your subconscious, and you have this new belief. So the new belief for me was that I knew I was going to be successful, and I knew that I was no longer going to keep making those silly mistakes that I was so good at making. And I mentioned about earlier, I mentioned about the subconscious mind having these beliefs, these programs that operate, that no matter how much you might want something to change, you use your will, your determination, you're going to get the result that is programmed into your subconscious. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was really about going through that next phase of the process to discover what was actually wrong. Now, before I tell you any of that, this book, every single day for 57 years at that time, now it's over 60 years, Bob Proctor had been reading every single day a part of that book, not reading the book in its entirety. I remember thinking, why on earth would anyone want to read the same book every single day for 57 years? It just blew my mind, thinking either this person's crazy or there's something to it. And I thought, well, looking at his results, one of the most successful mindset success coaches in the world, I thought there must be something in it. So I had this particular book that I held up, this particular one, for 20 years. And it's not well read. It looked a bit older because it's been sitting on the shelf for such a long time. And what do we call that? Shelf help. Wasn't helping anyone, wasn't helping me. So I went, okay, I've got to read this book. And the first time I read it, I didn't physically read this copy. I actually went onto YouTube, because at that time I didn't have a lot of money, and I thought, I'm not going to pay for Audible at that time. I do now. And I thought, I'm going to listen to it on YouTube. And I listened to it in its entirety. And there's so many things that I could pull out of it, Dan, but I'm just going to pull out one thing that I think is really important for everyone. And it is by far the most important lesson that I've learned and that you could learn today. And it'll impact your life, it'll impact your business, it'll impact your relationships. And when you hear it, you might think, I don't know, is that a bit simple? Remember, only reason things end up being hard is because we make them hard. It's nothing to do with the process. All the processes in the world to enable you to do the things you want to do are simple. So just remember that. That's the exciting part. You don't need to be you don't need a tertiary or a university degree to actually understand how to apply this. In fact, Bob Proctor, as an example, hadn't even finished, I think he finished like second year of high school or secondary school.
Mhm.
And so, you know, he didn't have an education. In fact, he couldn't even read, is what he said. I couldn't read at that time. So now if you look at his library, his library, mine looks small. I've got other books out in the living room, but his is like a massive amount of books, and it's not for show. They're books that he's read. Anyway, let me get to the point. When I finally listened to this book, there's a part, and I think it's on chapter 8 on decision, where Napoleon Hill says, of the 500 of the most successful people in the world that I interviewed, he said the only thing they all agreed upon, and literally the only thing they all agreed upon, is, then he repeated himself, so that this must be important. And he said they all agreed that they all made very quick decisions and they changed their minds slowly, if at all. And the people who didn't have the same success, what he noticed is they took a long time to make up their mind. In fact, some of them wouldn't even make a decision. However, if they did make a decision, they would change their mind frequently, all the time.
Yeah, and I can definitely attest to that as well. When it comes to, I always kind of like to phrase it as first thought, second mind. And the easiest way that I can describe that to everybody watching is, let's say you meet somebody for the first time, right? And this happens to everybody. You will meet, if you're a guy, you meet a girl. If you meet a girl, you meet a guy, whatever you're into. You'll meet somebody for the first time and you'll think, oh, well, that person is only okay looking, or they're not really my cup of tea, but I can see how people would really find them attractive. And over time, as you start to talk to the person more, as you start to understand their personality, laugh at their jokes, see what they're about, what their intentions are, their energy, it'll start to raise them. And you're like, damn, like this person's attractive now. This is like, they're very handsome and they're very beautiful. So with that being said, it's exactly like you said, when you have that first mind about something, there's a reason internally that you feel that way about that idea that you do have. But over time, it's like you said, two things. One, we start to limit our ideas and our beliefs. And then number two, we start to talk ourselves out of it because maybe it's out of fear, we don't think we can do it, or we're just nervous about tackling the idea. So I can definitely understand what you mean. And like, when you make a decision, there's a reason that you're making that decision. So you shouldn't, second guess yourself. So that is very important.
It is very important. And look, the reason that making quick decisions is so important, and I remember, in fact, I was on Jack Canfield's show in December of 2019, and he said, I'd explained the recipe for success that I believed was for me. And he said, look, that's really awesome. I like it. He said, but tell me, what's one thing that you've done that has really made the biggest difference to allow you to have the success you've had this past year? Mm-hmm. And I said, thank God I have an answer for this, Jack. I said, but I remember in January or February of this year, and it was back in 2019, I remember making a decision with myself. I remember literally saying this to myself, Brett, you have to stop being afraid of failing. And you need to start being afraid of not trying. And I thought, that's pretty good. But I know when I have to make a hard decision, logic goes out the door. I get nervous, and how am I going to know? How will I know that, how will I know, not whether I'm going to make the right decision, but how will I know this is the right way to go? Mm-hmm. And I said, what if I ask myself a question? Does this have an ability to get me closer to my goal? Mm-hmm. I thought, yeah, I definitely know my goal. I'm locked into my goal. It's become a burning desire. So, okay, that's good. Okay. But how will still questioning myself, how will I really know? I said, well, when you ask yourself the question, go quiet for a second. And if you feel, and I'm using purposely my left and so my right arm, to you it looks like my left, mm-hmm. my right arm, I would say, if I feel like, I don't know what it is, there's something about it feels right, then I'll say yes. But on the flip side, if I'm starting to get into that monkey mind and all these excuses, I don't know what it is, it's just something not quite right about it, I'll say no. Yeah. And I really want to harp on about this. Making a good decision is about saying yes or no. Not just about how quickly you make the decision, it's about yes or no, not about maybe. Yoda, we just had May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day, which I love. I grew up with Star Wars. And Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. Jeanette's saying, find your answers in silence. Absolutely. Look, this is what I'm trying to get at. We all have perfect intuition. We all have perfect intuition. All of you have intuition. And some people might think, oh, that's for clairvoyance. That's for mystical people. No, everyone has it. It's not a sixth sense necessarily. It's a higher mental faculty. You all have it. But the reason we don't use it, the reason we don't actively think we have it is because we're not using it. We're not putting attention on it. If you know that feeling, like that gut instinct, I don't know what it is. There's something feels good about it. There's something that doesn't feel good about it. Make a decision one way or the other. That's how I've had so much success, because I don't muck around with maybe. My go-to answer, this is literally what I used to say. And I said it to my first coach that I ended up hiring. She said, can I have your credit card details? And I said, can you give me a couple of days to work it out? Mm-hmm. And thankfully she said, no. Looked at me strangely like, no. And I said, oh, okay, well, I don't know if I can do this. And she said, why? And I said, well, I don't have the money right now. I have to figure out a way to make that happen. She goes, it's not about the money. And I said, well, hang on a minute. You just asked for my credit card. She said, no, it's not about the money. She said, you haven't even made a decision yet. Mm-hmm. And I said, but hang on a minute. How can I make a decision? I don't have the money. Yeah. And the point I'm trying to get at, and this is for everyone, this is a really important key. Like, most of us are looking at our current reality and thinking about our history and thinking about what we can and can't do, and thinking, oh, I really want to do it, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm able. No, you got to trust your intuition. There's going to be a feeling. That feeling could be, oh, I don't know what it is. Something not right about it. Say no. There's power in saying no, but there's also power in saying yes when your current reality, my current reality, I had no savings. I had no way of borrowing. I'd gone bankrupt a few years before. I had also felt like a really bad investment. I didn't like to ask anyone to borrow money. Yeah. So my point is that don't allow your current reality to get in the way of what you're actually going after, especially if it's positive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that 100%, especially if it's positive, because once you believe, then you're going to receive. Now, Brett, I have to ask you this question. Now, why are you so passionate about helping other people start to understand this reality? Because you can keep all this information to yourself and just say, okay, well, the least that people know about it, the more that I can have for myself. What makes you so passionate about helping everybody else when it comes to the topic of changing your mind?
Such a good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I know in the past I've thought about that with other people, people who, accumulate a lot of wealth and they're out there sharing with people for next to nothing. You think, why? They don't even need to do that. They could just, sit at home and be happy or sit on their yacht, not sit at home, sit on their yacht or travel the world or do whatever that they want to do. But there's a power, and everyone, I'm going to say everyone has the ability to live purpose, to live meaning. And the reason why you may not be enjoying your life is because you're not doing that. All right. Now, not everyone is ready for it. You kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Not everyone is ready. People are stuck in the matrix or stuck in, their current reality, which is that they don't have any way of changing it. Like, this is just how life's meant to be, right? And that's almost how I was with my life. Like, oh, maybe I should just be grateful. Maybe I should just appreciate what I have and stop trying to reach for the stars, right? No. But so the reason I share what I share is because I spent 43 years allowing myself to stay stuck. And that's not 100% true. The reason I say allow myself to stay stuck is I just didn't have the awareness, and I just didn't know how to change. And when the penny dropped and I finally got it, I was like, I now, and this is why I can talk for hours about this information, I now am living, if I got paid nothing and I could live, like comfortably, if I could just exist and share this information, I would do it. Because I know how powerful it is. I know what it does to people's lives. In fact, it truly transforms you into becoming someone that you probably didn't even know you had the capability to actually become. And so it's such an important thing for anyone that is ready. And I don't mean ready where, oh yeah, I feel like I'm ready now. I mean ready where you're frustrated, ready where enough is enough. Like, I'm sick and tired of living this existence. I don't know how to change, but I've got to find a way. Yeah. And that's kind of where I was at. Not when I first got the introduction to how I could get the breakthrough, but over a little bit of time, I prepared myself, or I got prepared, and I was ready for the breakthrough. When the breakthrough happened, and I heard Bob talking about this book, I thought maybe there's something in it. There's so much in it. And I got through that. But then I thought, I can't just read books. And I started to read a lot of books. And I thought, I can't just read books. I've got to actually invest in a coach to actually guide me through this. And just to remind everyone, this is not about investing in someone. This is about investing in yourself. It's about saying, Brett, you are worth it. Brett, you are worth it. And you might not feel like you're worth it yet, but we're going to get you to that point. And we're going to get you. Oh, one thing, just because I'm mindful of time, one thing I really want everyone to get. This is a really big clue on how you can change your external world, not just by changing your beliefs. You have to get an assessment. You asked, what can someone do today? Get the assessment of your, things you're happy with in your life, things you're not happy with, but also make an assessment on your internal self-image. How do you view yourself? And I remember when I went through this exercise personally, I literally did this. When I went through it, I remember answering this question. How do I feel about myself inside? How do I literally feel about myself? And I remember thinking, initially I thought, yeah, pretty good. I mean, I guess I can get up and talk in front of people, and I can go to an event and talk with people. I think I'm okay. And then I thought, actually, no, I feel like I'm becoming more of an introvert lately. I feel like, because I used to be quite extroverted, and I feel like I'm becoming a bit more introverted. And then I went, oh my God. Now, I'm not wearing it today. I usually, and I apologize, I usually wear bright colored shirts and jackets. Now I look like a lumberjack today. It's not my usual attire for these shows. So I apologize, Dan. But I used to wear those bright colors, and I would often say I'm the gayest straight guy going around, jokingly, but true. Gayest straight guy going around.
Does that have any relation to that Superman, what you're about to share with everybody? Does that have any relation to that Superman going on in the background?
Well, not really, but I'm going to share why there's Superman in the background, but not really. But the reason I was wearing these bright clothes is because I didn't want people to see me. Just look at my clothes, look at my, my extroverted personality. Don't get to know who I am, right? And so I wouldn't really go deep. I wouldn't really have deep, meaningful discussions. I just talk about surface stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason for it that I came to realize when I was really answering this question honestly with myself, and this is another part, you got to be truthful with yourself. I was telling myself so much BS over the years that I believed it. And I had to break through those barriers of all the misconstrued information I was feeding myself. And I had to say, what's really going on here? And I recognized that I was damaged goods. My self-belief, low. My self-worth, low. So I had to go through a process of repairing it so I could become more self-confident.
Do you think what that does? So when it comes to, no, it's all right. I call it as, self-awareness and self-accountability. Do you think when you're starting to do that internal audit, that is the first step that you need to take in order to really better your life?
1,000,000%. That's why I didn't want to skip it today. I really want people to be very aware that image you see in the mirror is not necessarily you. And sometimes we're looking at an image in the mirror and we're thinking, you're getting older, you're getting wrinkles, you're not as good looking as you used to be, right? All those things as we get older, unlike you, Dan, who's looking youthful and and has no wrinkles. But
Yes.
you do, as you get older, you start to think, oh, you know, I don't look as good as I used to. But what's happening, and this literally happened to me. This literally happened to me. When I recognized that I was damaged, I went, okay, well, how do I want to feel about myself? Well, you know, I was thinking that my hair was thinning, so I wanted to have my thick and healthy hair. So I went, I love my thick and healthy hair. I love my good looks. I love my beautiful skin. I went through this process of saying things that I loved about myself. Some things were already there, like I love my kindness, I love my caring nature. I love that I'll help anyone that truly needs help. But then I would add in these things that I definitely did not believe.
Yeah.
I definitely did not believe. And you feel like you're lying to yourself. And yes, you're going to be lying to yourself at the start. But these aren't untruths. These are actually true things, but you just don't believe them at this point. And so what we're doing is we're reprogramming our subconscious to accept the truth. And the truth is you are beautiful. The truth is you have perfect hair, even if you're bald. Like it's perfect for you. Whatever it is, like you are perfect. All of us are 100% perfect. And the only reason we think we're not is because we're comparing ourselves to other people. We're comparing ourselves to how we used to look.
Now, Brett, I have a quick question for you. Well, not really a question, but I want you to speak on your authority on why. Let's say somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, okay, like, I see Brett on the screen and he's on the show, but can you really attest to why you think that people should listen to you? And I'm going to say, like, it's not hyping yourself up, but I want you to explain, like, how many people you've helped and why you've helped them and just talk about, like, what you've succeeded in the next few minutes. Why should somebody listen to you?
And just while we're doing this, I just want to let my coach, I'll get a coaching session with my coach in the next 3 minutes. And actually, I'm glad I'm mentioning that to you because this is actually going to help you with that answer. Running a few minutes late. Okay. Telling everyone what I'm doing. Okay. The reason I'm glad I mentioned that I have a coach. In fact, I have 5 or 6 coaches. 6. Now, why do I do that? Well, one, I know the power of investing in a coach. And more important than that, I know the power of investing in me. And why do I hire coaches? I hire them because I think, is this something I need to learn? Or is this something that I need someone to help me with that I can't personally do myself? Yes. If the answer is yes, I will hire them. I hired another coach a week or so ago, and I thought, what? Do I really need another coach? But I asked myself, does this have an ability to get me closer to my goal? And the answer was yes. And I went, okay, I guess I need another coach. Am I happy that I invested? Yes. First session, best coach, one of the best coaching sessions I ever had. And it was simple. It was so freaking simple that I was like, wow. Okay, I'm going to go on a quick tangent. So there's a story about a guy. So there's a story about I don't know which military it was. There was a military that had a submarine. The submarine had a problem, had a leak, and they were worried about water coming in and they couldn't submerge because they were worried about it sinking. And so they called in this mechanic. The mechanic came, he spent 5 minutes and he fixed it and he gave him a bill, and the bill was for, I think it was $100,000. Mm-hmm. And the guy who got the bill, or the captain or general or whoever, said, hang on a minute, you just spent 5 minutes here and you're giving us a bill for $100,000. What the hell's going on here? He said, surely it doesn't cost $100,000 to fix something in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, give me the invoice. And he scratched out the 100,000. He wrote, what was it? A seal for the hole, $1. Mm-hmm. Where to find the hole? $999,000. Well, $99,000 and whatever. I'm not good at maths. $99,000, right? To figure out where the problem was. And this is the point, right? Is that why am I someone that anyone should hire as a coach? Because I fixed my own holes in my own submarine. Yeah. And did I do it myself? No, I got help. And so I practice what I preach. 1 second, sorry. I think I'm going to sneeze.
Actually, we only have like 1 minute left, and I think
good.
perfect way to end the segment for today and the episode. So, Brett, thank you so much for spending an hour of your time to throw in that energy out into the universe, because you never know what can come back to you. You can come back in 10, 20, 30 times what you anticipated. So seriously, thank you so much for everybody watching this right now. Spending an hour of your time coming over here to really better your life. Next week, we have the Oracle of Apollo. She deals with the divine and the spiritual one. So this is going to be something that I'm going to be new to it as well. So I just want to say, keep an eye out for that. Brett, thank you so much for coming on today. And this has really, really been super, super amazing. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody watching. And Brett, thank you so much. We have to get you back on another show, man, because there's so much you can talk about.
There really is a lot. So I'm grateful you invited me. I'm grateful to Virginia. And look, if anyone's hearing some of the stuff, and I didn't finish off answering some of the things. So if you want to know more, reach out to me, comment on Dan's thing, and Dan will reach out to me and say, hey, can you give an answer to that? Either way, I'm here to help.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we really do appreciate it. So I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. And you can reach Brett Scott by leaving the comment, and I'll connect you two together. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. Thank you again.